Hello everyone, welcome to the class of Microbiology for TYBSc in the subject MB 333 Enzymology for Semester 1. We had started with Chapter 3 Principles and Methods of Enzyme Purification. In our previous videos and lectures, we have already talked about different properties of enzymes which are utilized for enzyme purification. We had a brief talk about separation of enzymes on the basis of molecular size and ionic charge. In today's video, we'll be mainly focusing on the remaining techniques utilized for separation of enzymes on the basis of ionic charge. Other properties of enzymes which can be utilized for purification include affinity chromatography as well as use of solubility of enzymes for purification. Understanding purification using ionic charge of enzyme is one of the most important learning objectives in this video. After watching this video, the students should be able to answer questions on polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis as well as isoelectric focusing. So, purification using ionic charge on enzyme mainly involves techniques such as ion exchange chromatography, gel electrophoresis, polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis and isoelectric focusing. So let us see the instrumentation of electrophoresis before moving on to the further topic. So the electrophoresis equipment mainly consists of two basic components: an external power pack for electric supply as well as an electrophoresis unit. The electrophoresis unit further can be divided into two components: an electrophoresis media and an electrophoretic chamber. The electrophoresis media is again made up of two components: a buffer to carry the electric current as well as a supporting media for loading the protein of interest. The electrophoretic chamber is basically a tank which is made up of inert material such as plastic. This is a picture of an electrophoretic unit. As you can see, this is the external power supply whereas this is the buffer tank. You can see an anode and a cathode over here attached to the power pack as well as the gel being placed in the electrophoretic tank. Buffers involved in electrophoresis. As you can see, a number of buffers can be used for carrying out electrophoresis. The first buffer which can be used is barbitone buffer. The pH of this buffer is around 8. This buffer is mainly used for separation of serum proteins, but this buffer gives poor resolution and is a weak buffer. Phosphate buffer, mainly known as PBS, is made at a pH of 7. It is a buffer which is mainly used for enzyme separation, has low buffering capacity and high conductivity. It is one of the most commonly used buffers in electrophoresis. The next buffer is trisborate EDTA buffer. This buffer is made at a pH of around 8. This buffer is mainly used for separation of nucleic acid and not protein. It provides a good resolution, has high buffering capacity and low conductivity. Yet another type of buffer is trisacetate EDTA buffer, which is again made at a pH of around 8. This buffer is also used for separation of nucleic acids and not proteins. It is a high resolution buffer. It has high buffering capacity and a low conductivity. Tris-glycine buffer with pH 8 is mainly used in separation of protein. This buffer has high buffering capacity and low conductivity. So let us talk about the different properties of a supporting media present in electrophoresis. Usually, support media can utilize different materials such as filter paper, cellulose acetate membrane, agar or agarose gel. Starch gel is also commonly used, but for protein separation, we mainly use polyacrylamide gel. On the basis of different types of gel, the electrophoresis then can be called as agarose gel electrophoresis, starch gel electrophoresis, or polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. So let us see the difference between polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis, polyacrylamide gel and agarose. Polyacrylamide is a cross-linked polymer of acrylamide, whereas agarose is a polysaccharide extracted from seaweeds. Polyacrylamide gels are usually casted vertically, whereas agarose gel is usually casted horizontally. Polyacrylamide is a potent neurotoxin, whereas agarose has no toxic properties, that is, it is non-toxic. Polyacrylamide is mainly used for separation of small molecules, whereas agarose is used for the separation of large molecule, as we saw in gel filtration. Polyacrylamide can be used for separation of both DNA and proteins, whereas agarose is mainly used for separation of DNA. Staining can be done after pouring the gel when carrying out PAGE using polyacrylamide gel, whereas in agarose gel electrophoresis, staining is done before pouring the gel in the casting trays. So let us start with polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. It is a subtype of gel electrophoresis whereby the normal gel is replaced by polyacrylamide gel used as supporting media. The gel is made up of free radical induced polymerization of acrylamide and N,N methyl bisacrylamide. It is one of the most widely used techniques of electrophoresis for separation of proteins and enzymes. So as you can see in this diagram, acrylamide and methyl bisacrylamide get cross-linked to form polyacrylamide. Page is always vertical. This is mainly because agarose gel electrophoresis gel is mainly cast in trays which are horizontal and are continuously exposed to oxygen. Oxygen inhibits the polymerization of acrylamide, so it interferes with the creation of gel. Let us now see the procedure involved in polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. So as you can see, the gel is being cast in the buffer tank, after which we add separating gel solution to this tank. After this is done, we add isopropanol and stacking gel solution so that we can cast acrylamide gel. To create wells, we also add a plastic foam to create depressions. After the gel is being set, we add this gel to the electrophoretic assembly, which is then kept in the tank. After this is done, we add the anode and the cathode buffer. The next step involves loading of the sample into the gel, after which the power supply over here is switched on for a certain period of time. After this is done, we allow the proteins to migrate from the well into the gel. In the last diagram, here you can see separate bands of proteins are obtained. So after electrophoresis is complete, the molecule in the gel can be stained to make it visible. Ethidium bromide, silver staining or Comasi blue dyes are used for this process. Other methods may also be involved for visualizing the separation of mixture components on the gel. If the analyte molecule is able to fluoresce under ultraviolet light, a photograph can be taken of the gel under the ultraviolet lights by using a transilluminator. But usually for proteins, we use staining techniques. So page can be of two types. Either it can be continuous gel electrophoresis or it can be discontinuous gel electrophoresis. As you can see in this diagram, it is a single gel separation, whereas this is a discontinuous gel separation. That is, two gels are prepared, a lower resolving gel and an upper stacking gel. So let us see the main differences in continuous and discontinuous gel electrophoresis. As I mentioned earlier, continuous gel electrophoresis for paste mainly consists of a single gel, whereas discontinuous electrophoresis consists of two or different types of gels, that is a stacking gel and a separating gel. The pH is uniform throughout the gel in continuous electrophoresis, whereas the pH is different for both the gels in discontinuous gel electrophoresis. Pore size is uniform throughout the gel in continuous gel electrophoresis, whereas for discontinuous gel electrophoresis, the pore size varies from one gel to another. So the next question which arises is, why do we use two layers of gel, that is the stacking gel and the separating gel? Stacking gel is usually made up of 5% acrylamide and it is needed to concentrate all the proteins in one band so that when they will start to migrate in a running gel together at the same time, we will obtain a greater resolution. The separating gel, which is made up of a 12% polyacrylamide solution, is usually also called as the running gel, and it allows separation of proteins on the basis of molecular weight. So as you can see in this diagram, the stacking gel is the one in which we stack or add our sample and apply voltage, as you can see over here. Once we apply voltage, all the proteins come together as a single band. After they come together as a single band and run into the separating gel, actual separation is carried out on the basis of molecular weight, not charge. So polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis can be divided into two types, that is native page or SDS page. The proteins which are separated by native page are usually maintained in their native state, that is quaternary or tertiary structure of the protein is maintained. The second type of page is SDS page. SDS stands for sodium dodecyl sulfate. SDS is an anionic buffer. This buffer also contains beta mercaptol. This buffer is also known to contain beta mercaptoethanol. This beta mercaptoethanol, as you can see in the diagram, has the capacity to break the SS bond, due to which the foldings present in the tertiary and quaternary structure are raised and you get linear chain of proteins. So as you can see even in the second part, the protein is made up of two subunits A and B which are joined together by the SS bond. This beta-mercaptoethanol is basically involved in reducing the disulfide bridges and stabilizing the protein tertiary structure and denaturing the protein of interest. Due to SDS also contributes to a uniform negative charge on the surface of the polypeptide chain, as you can see in the last step. So this is again a diagram showing the apparatus used for SDS page. There is a stacking gel and there is a running gel. These are the negative electrodes, whereas these are the positive electrodes. You will basically load your sample here and apply voltage. After applying voltage, till this point, all the proteins will be concentrated together as a band, and once they enter into the running gel, or they will be separated of their molecular size and not charge. The buffer used in SDS page is mainly tris glycine buffer. The sample is usually dissolved in glycine chloride buffer, which has a pH of 8 to 9 before loading the sample onto the gel. This is mainly because of glycine's ability to exist in two forms at this pH, that is a zwitterion and an anion. So the stacking gel has a pH of about 6.7, which is lower than the pH of the buffer. At this pH, the concentration of glycine zwitterion increases and hence there is no electrophoretic mobility. So the relative mobilities in stacking gel is usually in of order chloride will move faster than the protein sample and the least mobile will be the glycine. The separating gel has a pH of 8.9 and this gel the glycinate concentration increases. Due to this increase, glycine moves faster than the protein molecules and the relative mobilities of separating gel are chloride will be moving faster than glycine, which will be moving faster than your protein of interest. We also use a tracking dye to visualize the movement of proteins in the gel because the proteins in nucleic acids are usually colorless. Ionic dyes used to detect the mobility of protein. The most commonly used tracking dye is bromophenol blue. So in this diagram you can see the tracking dye, which is bromophenol blue. Now let us see the main differences between native page and SDS page. The basic difference between the two techniques is use of the buffer in which there is beta-mercaptoethanol. SDS will basically denature the proteins, whereas in native there will be no denaturation of protein. So the first point here being the separation in native page is based upon charge, size and shape of the molecule, whereas in SDS page the separation is mainly due to weight of the molecule. So when we talk about separation using ionic charge, we are mainly going to be talking about native page and not SDS page. Native page is useful for separation and purification of mixtures of protein. The most common method for determining the molecular weight, that is characterization of proteins, is SDS page. Native page was originally the mode of electrophoresis, whereas SDS page is usually used after performing native page for checking the purity of the protein sample obtained. Now let us move on to the next technique, that is isoelectric focusing. This method is ideal for separation of amphoteric substances such as proteins. that is, they have both positive and negative charge on their surface. It determines electrophoretic mobility as a function of pH. It is based on the separation of molecule on the basis of their isoelectric points. Isoelectric point is the point at which the net charge on a molecule is zero, because there is no net charge of a protein at a particular pH. That particular protein at that pH will lose its ability to move in the gel. This is the main principle of isoelectric focusing. The pi at the point where the protein has no net charge is 0. So, isoelectric focusing is an electrophoretic method in which proteins are separated on the basis of their isoelectric point. It makes the use of property of protein that their net charges are determined by the local environment, that is the environment present in the electrophoresis tank. At the isoelectric point, the net charge on the protein becomes 0. Therefore, the mobility of the protein becomes 0 in the electric field. So, as you can see in this diagram, there is a positively charged anode, there is a negatively charged cathode, and the electrophoresis gel is having a gradient of pH from 3 to 11. The different protein samples such as A, B, C, D are loaded at different points in the gel. Once electric current is applied, there will be net movement of all the molecules in the direction where their isoelectric point lies. Once the proteins reach the point at which the pH is equivalent to the isoelectric point, at that point the mobility of the proteins will be 0. Now let us see the procedure to carry out isoelectric focusing. Carrier ampholyte, that is of a suitable pH, and ribofillin are usually mixed with acrylamide solution. The mixture is poured over a glass plate which contains spacer to cast the gel. The second glass plate is placed on the first one and the gel is allowed to polymerize. Once the gel is set, the plates are moved apart. The electrode wicks are laid along the length of each side of the gel and voltage is applied. After this, a cell-free extract which is fully denatured at a high concentration using urea is obtained. The denatured cell extract is poured on the polyacrylamide gel with the ampholytes. When placed in electric field, the ampholytes will separate and form a continuous pH gradient based on their net charge. Charged proteins migrate through the gradient until they reach their isoelectric point. At the pi, its net electrical charge becomes neutral and the protein stops migrating. Proteins having net negative charge will migrate towards the anode and those having a positive charge will move towards the cathode. The proteins become stationary once they reach their isoelectric points. The gel is then washed with trichloroacetic acid. After this, the gel can be stained with Comasi Brilliant Blue. So in this diagram, you can see the separation being carried out by isoelectric focusing. As you can see, this is the positively charged electrode and this is the negatively charged electrode. There is a pH gradient. At a low pH, usually the positively charged molecules will be present, whereas at the high pH, the proteins with negative charge will be present. As we apply electric current, there is net movement of molecules, and at the isoelectric point, the protein which has no net charge and therefore no longer has the ability to migrate in the electric field. In this case, at the pH of around 6.5, the proteins are separated on the basis of isoelectric focusing. So this was all about separation on the basis of ionic charge. In the next video, we'll talk about separation of proteins based on their solubility. These are the references